If you follow my channel, you should know two things. Number one, I love historical context and heritage in brands. And number two, I hate sandals. So why is it that I feel like Birkenstocks is one of the coolest footwear companies out there? Well, we will dig into their nearly 250-year history, why they are still relevant today, and even dig into my wife's experience with hers. I got a few pairs right here we're going to talk about, and then maybe we'll talk about the ones that I think I might pick up in the spring. Birkenstock is one of the oldest footwear companies in the world. They are extremely environmentally friendly, they are podiatrist recommended, and they are one of the major brands that went off of Amazon and grew. I'll link to my favorite Birkenstocks down below, but the Birkenstock history starts over 200 years ago in 1774. Johann Adam Birkenstock registered as a vassal and a shoemaker in Langham, Bernheim. And then over 100 years later, Johann's great-great-grandson developed the first contours insole that was made for shoemakers in the production of custom footwear. And that footbed that was done in the late 1800s has barely changed to today. Then a few years later, in 1902, they developed the first flexible arch support for factory-made shoes. At this point, everything is still done. Remember, this is Industrial Revolution. Factories are just starting to come online. Henry Ford is doing the first car, and a lot of this stuff is just now moving out of these small villages in Germany into some close European countries. Then we get to 1914, and Conrad Birkenstock is contracted to create custom orthopedic footwear for wounded soldiers. And then in 1945, they become a popular choice for World War II veterans because of the orthopedic support. Then 2 years later, the Podiatric System Birkenstock book was published, and it became the most widely published textbook on podiatry at the time. Now, 1966 was a major year for the company because it crosses the pond. There was an American tourist in a German spa who was having a ton of foot problems, and after wearing the Birkenstocks, they relieved her foot so well that she set up a contract to become the exclusive distributor in the US in California, but they couldn't get them into major footwear stores. The main place you bought Birkenstocks in the 60s were health food stores. And then when the 70s Cultural Revolution happened, that's when Birkenstock exploded in the US. People are drawn into the shoes for the natural foot shape, they stay for the comfort, and then usually style is a secondary consideration on these, but that is what they fixed for the next 20 years. They created new models, new styles, they innovated on their manufacturing processes, the cork that they used, and so they really improved the shoes. And in 1986, Nordstrom actually became the first US department store to bring it out of the health food stores and put it into a major retailer. 2 years later, in 1988, they started using an environmentally friendly glue. Talk about an early adopter of new and environmentally friendly technologies. As we enter the 90s, the innovation really continues. They are reducing power consumption in a major way in their factories. When the Berlin Wall comes down in East Germany, they're one of the first handful of companies that go into that region and start to set up manufacturing processes. They were one of the earliest footwear companies to have an online presence and have online ordering as well in 2001. And it seems about every 15 years, you can pinpoint times when Birkenstock went out of style and would just remain this enthusiast brand, and then they really come back into style. And you see that in the early 2000s, and then you see it again in the early 2010s. They made huge headlines in 2016 when they were one of the major manufacturers to really stick it to Amazon, pull their product off, citing concerns around not just product piracy, but counterfeits on the platform. And they saw it as a not great relationship, which ended up boosting their standings, not only in the industry, but amongst consumers as well. They grew. So where does the company stand today, and why am I shopping for them? Number one, all these products are still made in Germany. There's still a lot of heritage associated with the brand, and they still use this natural cork which molds to your foot. It's environmentally friendly, low impact not in just the manufacturing, the fact that they grow their own cork, they're very much vertical, but then the shoes are really built to last. Not only do they last a long time when you just wear them, but they're also built so that you can replace parts of the soles, and they're very modular, which is an amazing feature, which goes hand in hand and continues the idea behind my channel, which is that you buy nicer, fewer things, you get it repaired, and it's just better overall. They're also very versatile, so I promised I'd talk about my wife's experience with these because she was one of the first people in my life that really leaned into the brand and talked about the fact that they are extremely comfortable, they break in over time, and they last for a very long time. They're versatile as well because they have several different styles. They have the tong style, they have the slide style. They also went, the cork I think is a very important, this is the primary in their line, but they've started to do some more entry-level ones because you saw people knocking off their style, but now you can get something like a quick slide on here. But you can also do, they have the leather, they have a suede, and then the footbed itself. Everybody's Birkenstocks are going to be a little bit different because they mold and contour to your foot. But then the bottom as well, this is the part that you can have replaced while still keeping the cork sole intact. And this is another product brand example of where you use high quality materials and can last long, look good for a long time, and end up being much better in the long run from a cost perspective than buying a bunch of cheap sandals. So you use high quality leathers, nice solid buckles, something you can clean really easily. We have a little Birkenstocks cleaning kit, and I've cleaned the cork on the outside, and then durable materials that can be repaired and replaced in the long run. As for me, I literally don't own a pair of sandals. My summertime footwear is either a minimalist sneaker or a loafer, but it is very tempting because if you're going to go near water or a beach or something very casual, you want that airy nature. Now, the thing that I will not bend on is I really, really, really dislike anything in between my toes. So the tong style is totally out, but the Arizona, which is their hero model, which is the one that, when you think of Birkenstocks, you're likely thinking of the Arizona model, is very tempting. And to have something that is as comfortable as my loafers, where they've kind of molded to my foot over time because the leather has worn in and I've just worn them a ton, is very, very interesting. So I'm very curious to hear if you think I'm off my rocker for wanting to get a pair of Birkenstocks in the spring, which model maybe I should look into, and did you know what a cool history Birkenstocks really had? So yeah, I'll link to the ones that I'm interested down below. A little bit of a different video, but this is the sort of stuff that I love digging into. And as always, your comments and feedback is appreciated over on Instagram and Twitter as well. DMs are open. Until next time, gents, this is the Kavalier.